Good afternoon. Mr. Amberg, you and your client had an opportunity to view the PSI?
Yes, Your Honor. Would you like me to stand or sit?
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Yes,
Any
Your Honor.
additions, deletions, or subtractions?
None, Your Honor. I had a chance to speak with probation. In my sentencing memorandum, you saw I had an objection to OB 13, but my understanding was the final version that shouldn't have been in there in the first place, and so there were some other changes to the final calculation on count 1 and 2. There are no objections from our end. I understand why they were put in there. Besides that, I did go over this with my client front to back, read every word to her, and there's no additions or corrections.
All right. Anything further from the people?
No, people just let the victim statements speak for themselves. People don't have anything further.
All right. Anything further from probation?
Nothing, Judge.
All right. We do have some victims who wish to speak. I'm just going to have to sit back.
Judge, was that my chance for allocution?
No.
Okay.
No.
People do have two.
Okay. Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Good afternoon, Judge. My name is Brian Phillips. I'm the father of Jaden Phillips.
Go right ahead, Mr. Phillips.
And Zane Phillips. I just want to say that the day that happened, that the kids were with me, and we was just having a normal day. I was just playing with them, getting them dressed and ready for the birthday party they was getting ready to attend. Their mom was running in a little late, so they was on their way to come pick them up. At that time, I was, rushing, getting them out the door, making sure that they was ready. Once their mom picked them up, 30 to maybe 40 minutes, probably maybe an hour at tops, I was getting calls from my phone constantly from people I haven't met in years, family members. I felt in my stomach something was very wrong. I knew that there was something that wasn't right. There was people from over 20 years that I haven't talked to, 10 years, my family. My brother finally got a hold of me and told me there was an accident at the boat club regarding my kids. I felt it in my stomach that something was wrong. I didn't know at there. He wouldn't tell me. No one would tell me what was wrong. People kept writing me, get to this boat club, get to this boat club. When I ended up finally getting a hold of my brother and getting a ride there, I made it to the boat club. When I made it to the boat club, a lot of cops came up to me, rushing me, telling me that was I the father. I didn't even want to talk to any cops. I didn't want to see any cops. I just wanted to talk to my brother. I wanted to find out what happened. When I got to the crime scene, it was so hectic that it was chaos. I was seeing cars everywhere. I was seeing people everywhere. I finally went to my brother. When he told me that he couldn't tell me to go to the cops, a chapel guy came on my corner, and I dropped straight to the ground. I started screaming because I knew they was gone. I felt they was gone. I knew in my heart they was gone. So I told him not to tell me. I begged them not to tell me. But they had to find out I was the dad of all three of them, and I told them their names, their ages, and what was I to them. Before I even registered it was gone, they told me that Jaden, my oldest, was airlifted to the University of Michigan. I didn't even have time to grieve. I didn't have time to process what was going on with Alana and Zane because I had to rush to U of M. I had to make sure Jaden was okay. I had no idea that he was even alive at the time because he was airlifted. The other two, I was still processing that they was gone. On my way to U of M, I kept praying that Jaden would be alive. Like, he was all I had at that time. There was nothing else I was praying for but him to be okay. When I got to the University of Michigan, Jaden was on the table, covered in blood. He had 9 to 10 doctors all on him, trying to work on him, and his eyes seen me. And I kept telling him to fight. I kept telling him to keep fighting, and all he did was blink. He just kept blinking that he was okay. At that time, I stayed at the University of Michigan for 2 weeks. I never told Jaden his brother and sister were gone. I waited till he was out of the hospital fighting for his life because I knew if I told him, it would be very hard on him. He would rip wires out. He didn't understand. The whole 2 weeks, I would cry in the shower. I would cry away from him so he wouldn't know. I didn't want him knowing what happened. After he got out the hospital, we sat down with his mom and finally told him. He flipped out so bad. He cried so bad. We all three cried so bad. What you took from me, I will never, ever get back. My daughter was trying to be just like me playing basketball. She just celebrated her 8th birthday. Zane was about to be 5. Instead of celebrating his 5th birthday, we buried them. We buried them. You don't have no kids, so you don't know what this feels like. I go to their grave every other day, every day sometimes, because it's so close to my home. The only time I feel close to them is being at their gravesite, because I don't feel them anywhere else. I thank you, Judge, from the bottom of my heart for letting me tell my statement. And I promise I don't wish nothing but the worst for you. And I hope that you feel what we feel every day, because it's hard. It's hard even to wake up knowing that they're not here. It's hard that their older brother has to be without his brother and sister. And I hope every day that you realize what you took it from us. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. I'm going to have you identify yourself, please.
Mariah Dodds.
Ms. Dodds, when you're ready.
My name is Mariah Dodds. I am the mother of Alana, Zane, and Jaden Phillips. I stand before this court with a heart that is shattered beyond words, and with pain so deep words cannot fully express its weight. I lost my children. The loss of my children has created a void in my life that I will never be able to fill, and the grief I carry is something I will live with for the rest of my life. My children were my everything and kept me going every day. They were my joy, my hope, and my reason to live. Each day spent with them was a gift I cherished, and I took pride in being their mother. Every milestone they achieved, every smile they gave was a reminder of how incredibly blessed I was to have them. They brought so much love, laughter, and light into my life. Alana was 8 years old, and she was in the 2nd grade. She was smart, creative, artistic, independent, fearless, and had such a good heart. She loved to dance and read books. She loved singing, playing with dolls, playing restaurant, drawing, collecting rocks, and being a leader. She liked to create recipes, do her nails, practice makeup, organize things, do gymnastic moves, and still played rough with her brothers. She had a sassy side to her and wouldn't let anybody mess with her. She knew how to stand up for herself. She had a huge heart and had a nurturing personality. She looked up to me so much. She had every piece of me in her, from her beautiful heart, artistic soul, and her spunky personality. She was everything I have ever wanted and pictured. With having a little girl, she will always be remembered for her dark brown ringlet curly hair, beautiful different color eyes, freckled nose, and having a sassy, sweet, and funny personality. Zane was 4 years old and attended preschool. He was full of energy and loved to make everyone laugh. He loved to bounce around and dance. He enjoyed being funny and loved getting reactions from people. He could make a room full of people laugh. He liked superheroes and collected squishy-like sensory figurines called gujitsus. He loved going to the parks and being outside like any other kid. He was super close to both of his siblings and looked up to his older brother Jaden more than anything. He loved playing games and was just starting to learn to read books. He was a tough little boy with the most sensitive, loving heart. I have never had a human being love me so much as he did. He was my little shadow. At home, he spent most of his time by my side or playing with his siblings. He slept next to me every single night. We always had a routine when it was just me and him. He was so sweet and innocent. The love and bond I had to him was indescribable. He was my baby out of all three of my children. He was just learning things, and his personality was still developing. He will always be remembered as the bright blue-eyed, red-haired, full of energy, silly, most loving little boy. April 20th, 2024 changed my life forever. When I was told my children were no longer here, I felt like I stopped breathing, as if I died inside. All I could remember was screaming, freaking out, and trying to jump out of the hospital bed. The medical professionals had to keep putting me back to sleep because every time I woke up, my body would go into panic. My mind could not understand what was happening, and my body just reacted. Staying awake was too much for me to handle. Everyone knew my kids were gone before me, and I had to let that sink in. I suffered a traumatic brain injury, so trying to remember every detail of what happened during the time, it was so hard to think and process stuff. Everything happened so fast, and I was so confused once I regained consciousness. Having to leave the hospital out of the back door instead of the front did not make sense to me. News stations knocking on my front door before I could even make it home from the hospital was not the kind of spotlight I wanted, considering I was trying to process my kids were really gone. The first time I stepped into my home when I got out of the hospital was just as traumatic for me. Going home without my kids was not normal for me. I had to see everything that was left inside my home when we last left it all together. Having to see their little shoes and coats at the front door with toys laying around my living room made everything feel more realistic. I could not look at anything. I cried to my family to get it all out of my sight because every time I seen something of theirs, I felt like I was going to stop breathing. It was impossible to get everything out of my sight for the moment because my whole home is a memory of them. I am used to my home being noisy and full of laughter. Now it's quiet. It's extremely hard to be in my home now. There are many good memories, but it hurts more than anything living in something that once was full and perfect to nothing but emptiness and false hope to still wait to see them running around. I am the type of person that would not let just anyone come to my home because that is our safe place. After this accident, there were so many people in and out of my home that it was overwhelming. I encountered so many phone calls, so much paperwork, and consistent appointments when all I wanted to do was just close my eyes and pray every time I opened them that it was just a nightmare. I was overwhelmed, overstimulated, in a bad state of mind while trying to process the death of my kids and physically heal with the injuries I had. The panic attacks I had to face felt like my heart was going to stop. Even one point EMS had to come because I thought I was going to die. I felt helpless. I could not move around without support. I could not get out of bed and go to the bathroom without help. I could not bathe myself. With most of my ribs broken on one side, my shoulder blade broken on the other, a golf ball-sized hematoma right on my pubic region, and the back of my neck and skull bruised, I couldn't sit comfortably in a car or sit straight up in a chair without it hurting to breathe. No matter if I laid down, sat up, or tried to walk, everything just hurt so badly. I am so used to taking care of little ones, not having anyone take care of me ever. I felt vulnerable and like a burden on the ones that had to step away from their own life to take care of me and Jaden. I had to break the unwelcome news to Jaden, bury my children, figure out how to even celebrate Jaden's birthday to make it positive for him, mourn Zane's birthday the day after, and face Mother's Day all in the same week. Holidays and events are not the same. My kids were the party and entertainment at every family function or holiday. Everyone's birthdays were gloomy and quiet this year. Halloween was different. Thanksgiving felt like another day. Christmas was sad. It was heartbreaking and just did not feel right. Easter this year was the 1-year death date from this tragedy, and I was not even able to celebrate Easter. Instead, I faced another heartache by going into Alana's room that I have not seen in a year. Her room still smells like her. Her little dollhouse was still set up the same way when she was playing with it last. We were working on her room together, organizing all her toys, redoing the floors, and so on. She was so excited, and I never got to finish it with her. Going out in public is something I must force myself to do to face my fear. The thought of something happening is always on my mind. The fear of getting into an accident panics me every time I'm on the road. Even though I do not remember hearing the big crash noise, I tend to jump and my heart races when I hear loud noises unexpectedly. The injuries I got from this accident took away my self-esteem. My body gets aches and pains from the physical trauma I have suffered. I get in high protective mode when there is something being said about my children or about this tragedy. Seeing the things my kids will love in places aches my heart. I cannot look at parks the same. Driving past their schools hurt. Being around and seeing other children their ages makes me smile, but also at the same time it hurts my heart. The guilt of not wanting to do anything fun in public because my kids are no longer here dwells on me. Doing a simple grocery order bums me out because I am not buying the snacks they love. Certain songs or movies make me sad because we are not singing or watching them together. I feel guilty about whatever I do because my children are not here with me. There is Mina with everything every day that reminds me of them. Jaden, Alana, and Zane had a special bond like no other. The age gap between them did not reflect anything they did together. Jaden did such an amazing job of protecting his siblings. They looked up to him so much. While Jaden was in the hospital going through surgeries, fighting for his life, and recovering, he had no idea about his siblings. His father was by his side while I was also fighting for my life and recovering as well. I will never forget when me and Jaden seen each other for the first time through video chat. Seeing each other's faces was traumatizing. As a mother, it killed me not to be able to be present to comfort my child and know exactly what was going on with him because of the physical condition I was also in. Throughout all of my kids' life, I always been there whenever they were sick or needed the doctor, and I couldn't even be there for him. Me and his father could not even tell Jaden about his siblings being in heaven until Jaden came home from the hospital. That is when his condition was stable enough and he would have both of us there together to tell him. You do not know how it feels to tell your only living child that his siblings, his best friends, are gone. Jaden had to face many of challenges from this past year. He had to grow up fast and got robbed out of his childhood because of this. Jaden took on the pain a grown man would not be able to tolerate. He laid in a hospital bed in the living room for several months. He could not walk, use the bathroom on his own, or get into a shower. To get him out of the bed, he had to be power lifted to a wheelchair. He was in constant pain and uncomfortable. Finding rides that were wheelchair accessible just to get to an appointment were stressful. It killed me to watch my son in that bed every day, to see him in that condition and not be able to do anything for him due to my own broken bones. Family had to walk away from their own lives and jobs just to take care of the both of us. It took Jaden 10.5 months to regain the strength fully of walking without a wheelchair and walker. To this day, Jaden is trying to find ways of doing the things he used to be able to. His self-esteem and confidence has been damaged because of this tragedy. He cannot attend school in person because he is still not fully capable of sitting in a chair all day like other kids. He has a big fear of falling because he does not want another surgery or to get hurt again. Jaden is autistic. He has sensory issues, so you can't imagine what this journey of healing was for him. Anytime he felt pain was triggered or how he was doing therapy. Jaden is the strongest kid ever. No child should ever have to go through what he has. Leading up to this day, he has made a huge amount of progress, but he also still has ways to go do the things he once could do without hurting or getting tired very easily. Jaden has survivor's guilt. Getting him out of the house to do something fun is a mental process for him. Throughout this, he has shown how brave he is and how high he keeps his spirits of losing his siblings, but also he hurts for them. As I am speaking for him, this is the statement he had to say in the most appropriate way possible. Quotation, "She ruined my life. I want her to pay and spend the rest of her life in prison." End of quotation. Every day since their loss has been a struggle. My heart aches every day, and no matter what I do, the pain is constant. Every day I wake up to a world where they are no longer a part of it. I feel their absence in every corner of my life, in the quiet of the home that once rang with their voices, in the empty spaces where they should be, in every moment when I realize that I am forced to go on without them. No noise in my home freaks me out, and too much noise overstimulates me. I cannot put into words the depth of the emptiness I feel. The loss of my children has affected every aspect of my life. I have lost a part of myself I will never be able to recover. I struggle every day accepting the fact that my kids are forever gone. Simple tasks have been overwhelming. Being social is not desirable to me anymore. I am always jumping around to enjoy hobbies to keep my mind busy, but I lose interest quickly than before. I am forced to confront the reality that my children, the ones I was supposed to care for and nurture, are no longer here with me. That grief has been unbearable, and it has taken away a part of who I am. There are no absolute words of how it feels to lose your children. You just feel it. Your children are a piece of you. When they died, a part of myself died too. If I could describe it the best way possible, I would say time stays still. The days repeat. It's too quiet. It doesn't get any easier. The breakdowns get worse. Missing them gets harder. Moving on makes you feel guilty. You see the world differently. You cherish what you have left in your life a little more, and you fight every day just to stay alive, to keep going. Every day is a thinking process, and nothing will ever be the same again. I must constantly keep my thoughts and actions positive. I have told many people, and I will say it again, I thank God for Jaden. He is the only piece I have left of Alana and Zane. If I lost him that day too, I would have been gone as quickly as my kids were gone as well. Because of Jaden and my closest loved ones, they are the reason I continue to live each and every day. Living is not a choice in my life, because I will still have to always fight and protect Jaden. And I will still always have to be Alana and Zane's voices while they are not here, until I take my last breath. I wish I was alert that day. I would have been able to kiss my kids one last time and tell them I love them. Zane would have been able to hold his mommy that he kept asking for minutes before he passed away. The other part of me is glad I wasn't alert, because I do not think I would have been able to manage my children, seeing my children like that, where my daughter smashed into a wall. There would have been 3 bodies removed that day instead of 2. Many people have told me how strong I am. Being strong is not a choice in my life. I have to be. You never know what you would do unless you were in the situation yourself. Throughout this process, it seemed never-ending. I felt unmotivated to do anything this whole time, because it was my biggest goal to achieve justice, to move forward to my next chapter in life. Every court date, every phone call, and every article I had to encounter was nerve-wracking, gut-twisting, and had me reliving this nightmare repeatedly. As the months go on, you are left with having to move on and learn the new normal, what the new normal life is for you. Eventually, you get out of a routine that you were comfortable and used to doing. You forget how to smile, and you stare off for periods of time, not realizing what you are even thinking about. You must relearn everything all over again, but in a new, different way. It is not easy being in my mindset. This was the toughest battle you cannot even imagine. I smile through the pain just to get me by every day. I surround myself around positive people, places, and things. The hardest part of all of this is missing them. Remembering their smiles, their touch, their sense, them telling you you're the best mom ever. Their fun personalities. Remembering the way their heartbeats felt when they were scared. Remembering the silly voices they would do and nurturing them when they were sick or hurt, or just cuddling them, because that's what made me feel alive. It hurts. I can no longer do those things. As a parent, it is natural to want to protect your children, to provide them with love, safety, and guidance. I was their protector, and I should not have to feel like I failed them because of someone's poor choices. The guilt that comes with this is unbearable. And I question myself every single day, wondering if I could have done something more to keep them safe. But there were no windows or doors. Nobody seen her coming or expected a vehicle to fly into a building. There is only one person to blame. I did my best to provide for my kids and to keep a roof over their heads with everything they needed. I always had mom guilt for working, providing, and just feeling drained. I never dreamed in a million years that the moment we had an opportunity to finally have a family fun day, my kids would never come back home with me. She took everything in my life and destroyed it. Your Honor, there is no greater loss than the loss of a child, let alone two. I will not wish this pain on anybody. The best thing I was good at in life was being their mom. My children were supposed to bury me before I buried them. They had their whole life to live. No punishment can undo what has been taken from me. But I ask that you consider the immense pain, grief, lifelong suffering, trauma, and the physical lifelong pains that I will continue to endure because of this. My life will never be the same, and I am left to navigate a world where my children are no longer with me. Justice will never bring back my children or heal the pain. But I'll be able to breathe differently, knowing the action she has caused can never hurt anybody else. Having a clean record does not mean you're a good person. Her actions just finally caught up with her, and at the end of the day, she killed two of my kids. I'll never know the answers as to why she didn't stop the first time she ran into something before coming towards the boat club. She showed no remorse for what she has caused. I see past the alligator tears, going on TV and laughing it off like it was no big deal, like it was just a silly mistake. It was like a big slap to my face. A real woman will admit her wrongs and feel some type of sort of sympathy. She has not. which makes me feel absolutely disgusted and shows what kind of morals she has. She is an evil and sick individual in my eyes. If Michigan offered the death penalty, I would highly recommend it for her. She is a danger to society, and I feel society would be a danger to her. She makes me feel like she is untouchable, and I do not like that. I have raised awareness for the dangers of drinking and driving, and I plan to keep doing so by using my own story as an example of what can happen. This tragedy is known around the world. I will keep saying my children's names, and I will keep preaching about the dangers of driving impaired. She did not only kill one of my children, she also killed two. She injured my only living child severely, as well as myself. She injured some of my family members, as well as other people that were there that day, physically, mentally, and emotionally. My wounds were poked at while I was on stand, and it took everything in me to remain calm and professional, so I wouldn't jeopardize justice through this entire process. I am exhausted, mentally, emotionally, and physically with this. All I want to do is grieve the way I want and need to for my sanity and peace. I beg and I plead for her to be sentenced to life in prison with no parole. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Betts. Mr. Amberg, what would you like to say on your client's behalf?
Thank you, John. Before I get into what I wanted to talk about in my sentencing memorandum, I wish I would have been here. I wish I would have been here a long time ago in this case. I, like many of our community, colleagues of ours, was first found out about this case from the media, from watching the news. And from what I saw, I was disgusted. I can't speak to why former counsel would go on the news and invite this type of scrutiny into this case when clearly people were grieving. But I thought it was disgusting. I truly do. It does not change what happened. But I can say that since I got on this case recently, the first thing I did was to get the discovery in the case and to go through this with my client. You read the letters from the victims in this case. I mean, it's gripping, it's raw. You look at this discovery, it is horrendous and terrible and tragic. I know we're in a business where we see things like this all the time, and this is one of the worst cases I've seen. This idea that Ms. Chittister is not remorseful is something I respectfully do not agree with, but I understand why anybody who watched the news would think that. Because the way that her lawyer portrayed her, and to have to go through this trial and all of these other things, certainly made it seem like she did not feel any remorse for this, and nothing could be further from the truth. I provided a list of different letters and things like that that shows who she was, because before April 20th of last year, if you were to meet Ms. Chittister, you would think she's a normal, kind person. She grew up in this area. The boat club was a place where it was very dear to her. Her father helped found it. When she was married to her husband, they had the reception in the same pavilion where this took place. She served honorably in the Army. She worked at the power plant and served honorably there for the United States, and did charity work, very active in her church. You know, prior to that day, you never would have thought that she would have been here. You know, in my memo, I talked about deterrence and things like that. I think that this case, if anything, stands for this idea that if you make poor decisions with alcohol, that you can face murder. Now, I know that, you know, Your Honor, you, me, prosecutor, we've done a lot of different types of alcohol-related drunk driving cases in our careers. It happens all the time, all the time. And this is the end result sometimes, unfortunately, and it's terrible. It truly is. 57 years old. Obviously she's going to go to prison today, but even if she serves less than the guidelines in this case, it will likely be a life sentence. For those who don't know, when you are in prison, it's a hard life to begin with, and many times people on the inside do not live as long as they do on the outside. It's just a harder life. It truly is. Ms. Chittister has all sorts of health issues and things like that, and everything from cardiovascular, neuropathy, thyroid disease. I would say that I'm pretty positive that will get worse as time goes on. Even at 15 years in prison, I think that puts her release date, even if she got on parole at 83 years old. If she gets 25 years old, or 25 years, she's out at 93 years. I don't think she's going to live that long. I asked for mercy and for a sentence that could potentially get her a life of parole sometime late in life. I don't know if that's even possible, quite frankly. I will say this to all these victims out there, because there's a lot of victims here. Obviously, the family, and from what I heard today, it was devastating, truly devastating. And for the letters that I read from the people that didn't speak today, also devastating. I got to say, in this situation, you had everything from grief to heroism. I mean, it's just a range of emotions and things like that. I want to say that I read each one of those letters to my client, each one of them, because I wanted her to hear those. And it was an extremely emotional situation with her. At the end of the day, what does her life look like? I think that what her goal is to try to make things right the best that she can. I don't know what that looks like. You go to prison and try to help others. I mean, there may be some opportunities there for her, but in essence, any sentence, even a guideline sentence, is a life sentence for her. It truly is. I did address some legal issues as well in the sentencing memorandum. In there, you'll see that I've asked for a concurrent sentence as opposed to consecutive sentences. I know that the people's position is that both count 1 and 2 should be consecutive to each other, and then counts 3 and 4 should be consecutive as well. Even if they were to be run concurrent, that sentence would certainly be of such a nature where I think that the principles of sentencing that I discussed in my brief would be met. Rehabilitation of Ms. Chittister, this is her first offense. I do think that there is a very good chance that even if she were to be released at some point, nothing like this would ever happen again. Protection of society, even when she is released, whatever her sentence may be, she'll be so elderly that my guess is that she'll be released to a hospital to die. I think that's what's going to ultimately happen. Punishment, obviously the guidelines have give Your Honor a wide range of options here as far as sentencing goes, and I respect that and understand that. And finally, deterrence. I think that when you have a case where, back when I first started, a lot of these cases would be operating while intoxicated, causing death. They really would. And you would go through trials, or you would go through pleas, and the sentencing options were not as large as they are for a murder of 2 conviction. But I'll tell you what, if anybody can get anything from this case for society and for deterrence, it's that if you choose to do this and make these poor decisions, that you could, spend the rest of your life in prison for murdering somebody. Thank you very much, Your Honor, for your time. My client would like to just say a few words.
Of course.
Ryan, I've been thinking about what I was going to say to you for over a year. It was a terrible, terrible tragedy. I can't help it. Say I'm so very, very sorry for the loss of your children. I pray for them every day. And I ask that their father would also forgive me, as well as people that were injured. I never meant to harm those children or anyone that was involved in the accident. And the only thing that I can say is I'm so very sorry. And I never, ever meant to come across as not being sorrowful. I've asked the Lord to forgive me. And I ask that you at least look into your heart and at some point you can possibly forgive me. I would appreciate that so much. I have a little verse that I want to read.
as well as I do for the other people that were injured. I pray that they would be able to recover and get back to their normal selves again. I'm sorry. That's really all I can say.
All right, thank you. In this matter, the sentencing guidelines on count 1 and 2, which is the second-degree murder charges, the sentencing guidelines are 225 months to 375 months. On counts 3 and 4, which is operating while intoxicated causing death, the sentencing guidelines are 43 months to 86 months. On counts 5 through 9, operating while intoxicated causing serious injury, the sentencing guidelines are 12 to 24. The defendant has no prior criminal record. This historic courtroom has handled cases for more than 100 years, probably a lot more than that. Many of those cases are tragic and heartbreaking. I've presided over several of those myself. This might be the most tragic and most heartbreaking case that this courtroom has ever seen. 2 small children were killed. 5 others, including 2 other children, were seriously hurt. But more than that, this crime destroyed lives, it destroyed families, and it changed so many people in a very negative way. This has impacted the community in such a way that they're never, ever going to forget what happened on that day. I heard the testimony. I believe the jury got it right. The evidence of this defendant's guilt was overwhelming. The defendant took her prescribed medicine, gabapentin, and had a glass of wine at lunch. That was what was being proposed. She doesn't remember anything else. I didn't believe that. I don't think the jury believed that. Perhaps that's how you get away from the horror of such a thing, is just say, I don't remember what happened. But for me and for the court, the evidence is what we consider. The defendant said she rated herself a 7 on a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being total blackout drunk. She indicated that she knew it was okay that she didn't drive. Her blood alcohol was 0.18 grams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood, and as I said, she had gabapentin in her system. She has no record. Excuse me. She's educated and she had a fine career. She was in the service. I don't take these matters lightly, and I do take them into account. The defendant's sentencing memorandum had a number of letters supporting the defendant, attesting to her character and their interactions with her. I believe them. I think they were heartfelt. I think they were genuine. Only one, however, mentioned alcohol. When I reviewed the 309 screening, which is an alcohol screening attached to the sentencing, the defendant denies a drinking problem and is not interested in any substance abuse counseling. She's well within her rights to maintain her innocence, and I guess by extension, her sobriety. But I'm just looking at the evidence that came in at trial. At 9 a.m. on the day this crime happened, the defendant was at the Fermi 3 Party Store purchasing a 4-pack of wine and a large bottle of wine. 9 a.m. Circumstantial evidence shows that she was drinking at the home that day before heading to the boat club. Hours later, she still had a 0.18 blood alcohol. This wasn't just an accident, it was a crime. It could have been avoided. It's not against the law to drink, but it's against the law to drink and drive. The defendant lived so very close to this boat club, she could have simply walked down there. After getting in the vehicle, backing into the neighbor's car, forcing it through a fence, she then placed her vehicle in drive, speeding off towards the boat club, reaching 44 miles an hour. This is where a person would stop and say, hey, wait a second, I shouldn't be driving. I'm in no shape to drive. But she didn't do that. She made a conscious decision to shift the vehicle from reverse to drive and race to the boat club. This was a wanton and willful disregard of the likelihood that the natural tendency of this would be death or great bodily harm. For all those reasons, I find the following to be a reasonable and proportionate sentence. On counts 5 through 9, which were the operating under the influence causing serious injury, you're to serve 24 months to 60 months, Michigan Department of Corrections, credit 76 days. 340 state costs, $1,595 in restitution to Diane Medina as a condition of parole. On counts 3 and 4, which are the operating under the influence and causing death, you're to serve 84 months to 180 months. Michigan Department of Corrections, credit 76 days, 136 state costs. On counts 1 and 2, which are the second-degree murder charges, you're to serve 25 years to 50 years. Michigan Department of Corrections, credit 76 days. 130 crime victims' rights, 136 state costs. All these counts will be concurrent with each other. You have the constitutional right to appeal, Ms. Chester. You also have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you at public expense. You have 42 days from today to request an appellate attorney on the form you're going to be given and ask to initial. Thank you, counsel.
Yes. We have discussed our colleagues, so you're on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this sentencing. For security reasons, we are going to ask that you'll all vacate the courtroom and vacate the third floor. Doesn't mean you can't be in the courthouse, just not in the courtroom and not on the third floor. Thank you so much for your cooperation.